Okay.
How you doing, Scott?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Scott.
So we're going to kick the meeting off tonight. I'm going to facilitate it. I am Scott, AK6Q, one of your directors at large. The other one is Randy, K0TNG, and Randy is on the road tonight, hopefully somewhere deep into Utah and over all the passes. Yeah, could be. Funny, it is.
He's watching you live on Zoom.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, we've got a full agenda tonight. Glad to see you guys took the time to come out in the snow and make it down here with us. We'll start with any new members or guests tonight. I know there's one I've seen in here. Steve?
This is my second visit.
Okay.
I was here maybe 4 months ago or so.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other new members, visitors? I don't see any others, so small group of us here tonight. So hopefully the YouTubers are, maybe there's some visitors on the YouTube side of it coming in. So welcome everybody. For the leadership introduction, we'll start with, we got Dan and 2SRK.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for making the trek out in the snow. Certainly a little bit of weather that we had, but good to see your turnout. So glad you're here. Welcome.
And we've got Paul.
Well, last month I didn't have any prepared words, any prepared statement, and Dan gave me a hard time. So I have a long announcement tonight. No, not really.
I'll start the timer.
I know. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight in the snow, and I want to thank everybody that's watching on our YouTube channel. We're really excited that you're there tonight, and excited about the presentation tonight on Kitbuilding, something that, amateur radio and building kits, that just goes back to the pre-heat kit days, right? And so that's exciting tonight. And we've just come off of a really, really busy week with Winter Field Day and some other stuff. So, yeah, it's great to be part of a club that's doing a lot of things. And I want to specifically welcome all the new members. We have quite a few new members that have joined in the last 6 months. And so I'm going to consider anybody that's joined in the last 6 months a new member. Welcome. Thank you very much for being part of the Parker Radio Association. And Scott, thanks for facilitating tonight, and that's all I have. So now I can't be accused of not having something to say. Somebody told me last month, they said, well, you always have something to say. Well, anyway, so back to net control.
And on that, I'm going to add just something to Paul's here. We did have Winter Field Day this last weekend, one of our first big events for the year, but we have got so many events coming up. Make sure to check the website, watch the email blasts. There is something for absolutely everybody and every facet of amateur radio in the next few months. So make sure to pay attention to that. Secretary, we have Brian. Welcome, Brian, K0FBS. Anything for us tonight, Brian?
Speech.
Keep an eye out on the email blast. We're going to make some changes to it, make it a little easier to read.
Very good. Looking forward to that. Yeah, that was a topic that got brought up. I'm glad to see a few changes coming our way. As I said, I'm one of the directors. Randy's the other one, out of town. The treasurer, which is Robert, I forget Robert's call sign, I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. All right, very good. So Robert is not going to make it in tonight. We will cover his treasurer's report. And tech, we have Jeff.
Welcome everybody. Second round for YouTube. Hope this goes smooth than the first one. The first one wasn't too bad. I think we had over 200 views on last month. That's outstanding. Real quick, I want to say big kudos and thanks to, and I don't remember the calls, Dan and Aaron, who have taken over the website committee for me. Thank you so much. They're already doing.
I think they're on the agenda.
Are they?
We'll get their call signs.
Okay, well, anyway. Oh, yeah, there they are. Oh, well, stole your thunder then. But thank you so much to those fine gentlemen for taking over the website. Yeah, so I hope everybody has a good meeting, and we got at least 10 on YouTube already, so great.
Okay, so that'll get us through all the leadership folks. The treasurer's report with committee budgets and processes. I'm going to let, you want to cover that, or you want me to take it? Okay. So I am not the svelte bookkeeper that Robert is, and we've reformatted, or Robert has reformatted our treasurer's report, which we're bringing up on the screen here. I'm going to go over a couple things, some notes here, so I'm going to read it kind of from my phone. So sorry we won't be making the meeting. There's a couple of items we do want to emphasize, one of which on the income source side, he hopes to have a better split on membership, PRA gear, and donations in the future, which is kind of in this top section up here where he's breaking some items out. Then we've got on the expenses, we want to talk that the AV equipment that we're using for the YouTube feed tonight is a one-time expenditure, and so we bought a whole bulk of items here that Jeff and a couple others lined out, and we found out there was a couple missing items, so we picked those up, and they are in place for tonight's meeting, but everything seems to be really working well. Really enjoying it. Hope you guys on YouTube are able to see and hear clearly. If not, send those comments in. The membership report, we've got membership count, 241 active, so kudos to everybody that has re-upped and those new members that we've gotten. And we have 94 expired, so if you've got a friend out there that maybe needs some encouragement to renew, let them know. I know we've sent out emails on those as well. Our income, which is the most important. Our top 5 income sources are the PayPal, which is your membership and the donations coming in. The King Supers program, which is $19.26 from King Supers, and I'll touch briefly on that here in just a second. The bank deposits, which are just monies coming in from email or mail sources, if you mailed your dues in or mailed a donation in. And then the Amazon Smile program, which I'll touch on that briefly here next. So going back to the King Supers program, any of our club members, their families, your friends, your associates, anybody you want to have do that, there are instructions in the blast. There's stuff on that website as well. But get your family and friends signed up for that because we do get quite a bit of income from it. Amazon Smile is the second source of income. So rather, if you're going to make an Amazon purchase, just make sure you go back into smile.amazon.com. PRA is your charity, and we get a donation for that. Both King Supers and Amazon will make, they do the donation on your behalf, but it costs you no more or less to buy whatever products you're buying. So I think that kind of wraps up the treasurer's report. I don't think there's anything real outstanding on there. The balance was $57.23, I believe. Does that sound right? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, there is the treasurer's report. Board announcements. I'm going to put that over to Dan.
All right, well, here we are. I promise to make this pithy. I promise. I might as well come up and just steal the mic for a minute, so don't go anywhere.
All right.
Maybe I talk loud enough. So the board met last week, which is good. So the board is very active. They're meeting monthly, which has been going really well. A lot of great traction that's taking place. One of the big ones that we had primarily revolves around committee chairs, so that's really good. So we had the committee chairs lined up for the year. So we heard the announcement regarding the website committee. So I'd like to thank Dan and to ZTT, and I'd also like to thank Aaron, KD7 LCM, for co-chairing the website committee. They're going to do a fantastic job. Both of them had some tremendous skill sets, and we know that they're going to breathe some really good life into the website, which is awesome. So, Jeff, thanks for your guidance in vetting the candidates and going through some of their skills and abilities. So it's going to be a real nice addition to the club there. Obviously, we announced at the last meeting for the repeater committee, John, and for SJW. So, John, thanks again for chairing the repeater committee. That'll go a long way, and just a great infrastructure that we have as well with the repeaters that we have in our network as well. So certainly good stuff there. The special events committee, Randy and Scott here are going to co-chair the special events committee. So we have the at-large directors that are going to co-chair that, and part of the process in having them co-chair it is to start soliciting members that will participate in that. They want to at least be able to show you that this is truly not a John Wayne position. You're not going to be alone in any of this, but these guys just have some amazing talents in what they have done over the last couple years, from portable ops, Wings Over the Rockies, and several other events as well. So I certainly want to thank Randy and Scott for your participation there. Dana, NN0G, is going to be our field day chairman, so I'd like to thank Dana for taking that on. He's got some really cool plans, and I think Paul's going to be able to give a summary. Dana couldn't make it tonight because of the weather, but Paul will provide a summary that Dana had sent over already. So good stuff there. Brad, W0BDT, heading up our Elmer and new member committee. So Brad, thank you for that as well. So let me think, am I missing any committees right now?
Jay, KF6 UPN,
Yes.
along with Brad,
That's
on
right.
the Elmer Committee.
That'll be perfect. Yep, thanks for reminding me of that. So Jay, thank you for that as well. So any questions as far as the chairs are concerned? Now what the good part behind the chairs is they need your participation. So if you're a member, we'd love to see you get engaged in at least one committee. It'll certainly go a long way. You can go to 2 committees, that's fine. There's no limit to the number of committees that you can participate on, but your chairs absolutely need the help and the support. So if you have a hankering for, you know what, I really know a lot about repeaters, get with John on the repeater committee. Hey, you know what, when I lived back east, I used to be able to help out with the field day. I can help out Dana on the field day committee. So again, this is a very participatory club. So we want to make sure that we're getting your active participation with any of our committees. And even if you don't know anything about repeaters, but you want to learn, get with John. It's a great way to learn and get to know more about amateur radio and the hobby and the infrastructure that we have as well. So there's a buffet of opportunities here to really get yourself plugged in. And if you need help in getting plugged in or need an introduction, just let us know. We're happy to at least start that process overall. Anything else from the board that I'm missing, Mr. Chairman?
No, sir.
Thank you. And with that,
All right,
I turn the floor back to you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Look, I will stress that, some of the new faces that we're seeing, don't be afraid to jump into a committee. You don't have to know anything. A lot of what goes on to make the events happen or the repeater upgrades happen is labor. If you're able to transport things, if you're able to carry things, deliver things or pick things up occasionally with time constraints that some of the other members have, even that is an immense help. So yeah, don't be afraid to jump onto one of those committees at all and start learning and giving back if you've got those skills. The Elmer Committee would be next. With that, I will, Paul, do you want me to do that one?
Yeah,
Okay. So Elmer Committee and new member committee kind of got rolled into one. Brad was the new member committee of one, and so he just took it under his guise because it really falls right under the Elmering program. The Elmer Committee, Brad and Jay have had a couple of meetings to get some funding items straightened out and trying to figure out what direction they're going to go in. And it sounds like they're in agreement. They would like to continue on with the every other month meeting being formal and every month being an open forum to get answers to current topics. By any means, if you have a problem or a need or an issue that arises, reach out to the Elmer Committee, and either bring them to the Elmering meeting. Even if it's a formalized meeting, there'll be time for some question and answer and some help there. They are looking for committee people, so if you want to be a part of the Elmer committee, please reach out to Brad or Jay if you need any help with that. Get a hold of any one of the board members and we'll get it over to Jay and Brad. So that kind of wraps that part up. Repeater committee, John, and for SJW.
Thanks. Everything's working really well. We've not had any more power outages. I want to send a shout out to Ray N0KG. He donated a pretty big battery and two UPSs, so those will be deployed. That'll help out a little bit on some other sites. And then Randy KZR gave us a really, really big battery, weighs about 300 pounds. And it's fun trying to get out the back of my Honda Pilot and be able to control the crash. Those will go up to Squaw probably in late May, early June when all the snow starts to melt. I barely got up the driveway a month ago, and thank God I was right in front of Doug here. He could have pushed me out, but that's a whole other story. Operational change. How many of you use the D-Star repeater on top of Squaw? All right. Up to this point, it's been, if you wanted to just go ahead and move it to 30 Charlie or another reflector, there was a 2-hour after you did that. We're going to back it off to 30 minutes. What we find was that sometimes someone would bring it up to like 30 Charlie and then would leave and then just be sitting there off the mega system. And so we'll change that as soon as I can get up with Jeff and get my little secret key. I think that's about it. One other thing, you all know what the All-Star system is. All right, we've got a really, I've been looking every day, and it's probably at least 12, 15, 16, I've seen as many as I think 18 stations all linked in. The other day, someone actually brought up the Skyhub system in the middle of a net, and they're like, well, we want to keep the squelch loose. That's probably not a good thing because then it locks up our entire system. So if you have any questions, just let me or someone else know. We can kind of walk you through as far as what would be good procedure or something like that. So that's about it. Thank you.
And on that topic, I will just add one thing. Because we do have a variety of repeaters that might be closer geographically to you, we can actually take one of those offline,
Exactly.
let you link to wherever you want to get to, and it won't tie up the whole system, but it will allow you to get access. I've done that with a couple of California nets where I've taken the North Parker repeater offline for an hour, and it's not a problem to do. We can facilitate getting that
Yeah,
done.
just let us know. But
Yeah.
Yeah, one quick comment on that. If you're going to link to a net or whatever, make sure you just get on the repeater ahead of time and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to link it for 15 minutes or I'm going to link it for 30 minutes. I mean, if you let people know what's going on, we can certainly go to one of the other repeaters as well. But if you want to link it for something, someone linked the weather. Was that yesterday?
That's today.
Today?
Yeah,
I think every day the weather's been linked for the Colorado Weather Report, which is perfectly fine. I think it was great. But just tell everybody ahead of time what's getting ready to happen. And that way, if we have something else planned or if one of the all-star control operators says, hey, this is not a good time to do it, they can say that. So
And one other important thing, you need to identify.
definitely identify, right. Identify and let us know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. All right, that'll take us to Field Day Committee, which is Dana, NN0G, who's not here, but Paul's going to pick it up and run with it a little bit here.
Okay, so Field Day is an ARRL sponsored event. It started in 1933, and we participate every year. It's our premier event as a club. We had around 80 participants last year, maybe a few more that would come and go different times. This year, we have a very, very, I think, unique opportunity in that we have our own designated group campsite that's been reserved. So if you've been to Field Day over the last 6 or 7 years, you know, sometimes when we camp up at Woodland Park, there's other campers around us, and sometimes we have to work with the host and make sure that, you know, we're following all the rules and regulations, but we still have to do that this year. But we are going to be by ourselves. We can have up to 100 people. I believe 44 camping units, and it's going to be a fantastic event. So it's June the 25th and 26th, which is a Saturday into Sunday. However, numerous club members are going to go up starting on Wednesday, because we have the campsite reserved Wednesday at noon through Sunday noon. So if you want to take a couple days of vacation, or you're retired and just want to come up and hang out and play radio, we'll start Field Day at noon on Wednesday the 22nd, and we have to be out of the campsite on the 26th, Sunday at noon. Now, Dana stepped up and offered to be the committee chair this year, and we're very happy that Dana decided to do that. He's the right person for the job, and but we do need people on the committee so that it's not a John Wayne position. He's not doing everything on his own. The committee completely plans Field Day. They buy the food. They figure out who's gonna cook our Saturday night meal. They prepare all the radios and the batteries, and they come up sometimes early, set up antennas. So the Field Day committee is a very important committee. So Dana needs your help. If you've never participated in Field Day, but you want to learn about, you want to figure out what it's all about, this is a great way to do it. And you don't have to put in a lot of time, a lot of, it's not a daily activity, but between now and the first part of June, they're going to meet once a month, and there's going to be some things that have to be put together and coordinated. So it's a fun committee to be on, because if you don't want to tie yourself up on a committee all year, it's just about a 6-month-long commitment, right? And they've already started. There's only 2 people on the committee right now. So we really could use another four people at least. And again, that's the 25th and 26th of June. It's our premier event, so you definitely want to come up. We do a Saturday night dinner, usually pork shoulder, and everything goes with it, cooked on site. I think we cooked six pork shoulders last year, and almost ran out of meat, which was not good.
So in fact, we'll find another smoker for this year, because we're starting to tap, I think that's the limit for
I think we're tapped out on one smoker, that's exactly right. If you want to come up and help set up antennas, or you want to get on the air, we operate under the K0 PRA call sign, so you can be a tech and you can get on and make HF contacts all weekend. And it's a lot of fun, camping's fun, and any questions about Field Day, I'll try to answer those for you.
Two small things on that. It is not just club members. It's open to everybody.
Correct.
And the families. And we have quite a few family members that have stepped up and helped with logging, helped with putting antennas up, helped with whatever else we need in the campsite. So we really do appreciate the families coming up and being a part of it as well.
Yes. Definitely a family-friendly camping environment. Absolutely. Pet-friendly as well.
Dan, did you have something?
Dan.
So if I was interested in helping out for Field Day, what do I do? Who do I contact?
You can drop us an email at parkerradio.org on our webpage, www.parkerradio.org, and that will be forwarded to Dana, and he will be in touch with you.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
We'll get you set up.
And also Dana's email address is good on QRZ, so you can look up his call and then 0G on QRZ.
And if you're a club member, his email is good in the directory as well.
Yes, it is, and that'd be a great way. Yep.
All right, I'm going to take a break there, and I'm going to go ahead and jump down and do the other one. How's that?
Okay.
Portable ops group. So we have a group of members that are part of the portable ops group, sometimes known as the Parker Militia. But anyway, we go out every month and set up portable equipment, HF equipment primarily, but some people bring VHF, UHF here. All different types of antennas, radios. This year we have a very, very robust schedule, including some parks on the air deployments, summit on the air deployments, We have a cookout in August
With fishing.
with fishing. We have our annual trip to Signal Butte, which is an unbelievable trip. And it's not, if you don't have HF equipment, you don't have portable HF equipment, it's still a fun group to join because you can go work everybody else's equipment and figure out what it is you want to buy, right? Because we have different radios, different antennas. Everybody does something a little different. How many people are part of the Parker Militia? Portable Ops Group. All right, great. Our turnouts are usually very good every month. So this last Sunday, the email blast came out and it had all of our activities for the entire year. So check that out, pick which activities you want to attend, or all of them, and come on out. Two things are changing. One, we have a co-chair this year. Besides myself, Scott, AK6Q, got nominated and was voted on. Well, I don't know that he got nominated or was voted on, but he got picked. So Scott and I are co-chairing that group. Second thing is we're going to make some changes in our email distribution. That'll be coming here in the next couple weeks. So it's not my personal email anymore. Any questions about our portable ops group?
What are we doing this last Sunday, Saturday?
Well, thank you for asking, Brian. We just completed Winter Field Day out at the N0KKY Southern Facility, right? Or the PRA Southern Facility. It's an 1800s barn, basically. There's an event barn out there, and we operated out of a spring house that was built in 1860. And we were on the air with Voice, Sideband, and we were on the air with CW, automated CW station. And there were at least 10 other individual HF stations set up, spread out all over his 30 acres. And there's some food, and we made almost 70 contacts on CW. Brian made 30 of those. Yay, Brian. The sideband station didn't do quite as well, but there was a lot of people on the air, a lot of activities, and I think they made about 10 contacts.
But they had fun.
Right.
And a lot
So
of
that was a Parker Militia deployment for this month, and it was fantastic. I think we counted about 30 people showed up for it. And it's our annual event, annual field day event. If you've not been out to Sam's Place, we strongly recommend that you come out. The next event will be our chili social out there in the fall. I believe that's going to be in October. So, okay, any other questions about the portable ops group? Brian, you had something else?
This month's the one we're going to be doing at the end of the month.
This month. This month.
I'm drawing a blank. I don't
I'm
have it
drawing
in
a
front of me.
Snowshoe.
Oh,
yes.
that's right. We're going to be going to Cottonwood Canyon State Park,
Castlewood.
Castlewood Canyon State Park. For those of you that have snowshoes, and there's snow on the ground, which I'm sure there will be, you can put your gear on, get your radio, get your backpack, get your antenna, and you can snowshoe out in the park and set up stations. For those of you that don't have snowshoes, we're going to be setting up around the parking lot area on the east side. So definitely come out for that event. And I don't have that date with me, but you can look on the blast this last Sunday. Brian may have it, but I believe it was the
February 26th.
26th.
Last
February 26th. All right. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. My mind was going blank there.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Looking forward to that one too. So we'll go back up one to the special event committee, which Randy and I are co-chairing. So the next special event is not calendared yet, but I believe it's going to be a Wings Over the Rockies event here in Centennial at the airport again. We're looking at their calendar to see what events they have that we can piggyback on and do another special event station out there. And with any luck, we'll tap Brad again for getting us the W0R call sign, special event call sign. That really worked out spectacular when we were there in November. Great time was had. We're going to reformat a couple of items there for better display and better interaction with the public that's there. So watch for a blast to come out on that. That'll be the next one. And the one after that will probably be pedaling for Parkinson's. Dan will have some details of that coming up shortly. That's in June. Mid-June? Early June? Early June. Okay, so you'll see some information coming out on that. We'll be looking for operators to work different aid stations throughout the bicycle riding course here in Parker, and it goes over to Lone Tree?
Goes through Parker, Lone Tree, Centennial, covers a pretty good stretch. And I think what will be interesting to find out, they're still in the process of going through the logistics of permitting and things like that, but I think there's going to be two things. As they did it during the COVID era, they had a virtual ride last year, so it was a virtual ride plus the actual in-person event. I'm anticipating the in-person event to continue as it has in previous years, which will be nice. And I think we'll probably have 3 courses this year. So more information will follow as that window starts getting tightened up, but you'll probably start seeing some emails about this really frequently come about April. We'll be putting the press on. So if you've never participated in a public service event, this is absolutely the one to do. It's very low pressure, very low key, and a lot of fun. You really get to exercise your amateur radio skill sets as far as your equipment that you have and putting it into use. You're guaranteed to get on the air. You will be on the air. You're going to be called, and it's a lot of fun. So again, nice way to support part of our mission and giving back to the community, and we're helping out a great organization with pedaling for Parkinson's. So I reserve my time back to the chair.
And that is mostly VHF. However, there are some UHF opportunities, but it's just UHF, VHF, mostly HTs. There are a couple of spots that we kind of look for a mobile radio just because need a little more hoop to get out of the hole with. So anyway, yeah, great event. Was part of it last year. It was a ton of fun. Paul, you got the Portable Ops Group. Future meeting on covert antennas with Randy. I will touch on that one just a bit here. So Randy will be doing covert installations, trying to help people come up with some ideas in HOA restricted areas, most importantly. Those of us that have either larger pieces of property or no HOAs pretty much are unlimited, but an awful lot of the membership is very limited. So if you know of yourself having an installation that's maybe a little stealth, a little covert, take photos, do a short 2 or 3 sentence at least write-up on it, and send it over to Randy. If you have a friend, a buddy that's got the same thing, get photos of it and let Randy know. You know, we're trying to do a big presentation with lots of photos for lots of ideas. So anyway, that's forthcoming, and I know there's a ton of interest in that one coming down the pipe here. Website committee, Dan and Aaron, which I don't see either of them here, correct?
No, but I'll
Okay.
take the floor for just a moment. Again, thanks to Dan and Aaron for taking over for me. A couple other quick changes around the PRA gear. First off, I don't see anybody here, but if you did happen to have a t-shirt or a badge ready for pickup, new t-shirts, this New Year's batch is in, so if you need a shirt, I can hook you up after the meeting. The rest of the gear, we are actually going to outsource. So we've sent off our logos to be digitized to hand threads. You may have seen them at some of the bigger conventions like Convention and so forth. They do really good stuff. And the disadvantage of going to them is we don't get a cut out of it. I mean, they take all the money. But the upside is you get your stuff a whole lot faster. So we're going to have them do all the embroidered gear. So that's the hoodies that everybody's been wanting another batch of. They also have hats, they have jackets, they got vests, they got bags, they got everything. So you should see our logos appear on their page within a few days, and then you'll be ready to order whatever you want. And as part of being a PRA member, 15% off is every price on their site. So, and they customize everything with your call signs as well. So, get a sneak peek, check it out. Ham Threads, Google Ham Threads, they'll come up. Great people to work with, and we're looking forward to partnering with them.
Jeff, do you know, do they do a patch that you can
They
get
do
and then
patch.
iron on? Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yes, they do.
I had a question, somebody had asked me on that one, so.
And we have bumper stickers too. Bumper sticker it improves the gain on your mobile office by 3 decibels.
It is a 3 dB gain.
That's an MFJ.
Scientifically proven. Any questions? The website. So Dan and Aaron, I've been promising you guys a Facebook of the website now for the better part of a year, and there is a new website. It's in beta and it's ugly as sin, and I'm washing my hands of it. They are very busy getting comfortable in the mess that I have created, but they have committed to putting a facelift and a fresh website up sometime this year. So stay tuned on that one. Any questions on gear or website? Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Jeff. Loaner equipment, our man Dan.
Yeah, this is actually probably one of the most exciting loaner equipment announcements that I had. So for months, I've been begging, please take this stuff out of my basement, it's collecting dust. All the radios are out, so they're all out, they're being loaned, I'm thrilled about that. So if you're interested in any of our HF loaners, ICOM 7300, Yaesu 991A, and an ICOM 705 QRP radio, D-Star, HF, VHF, UHF. As a member, they're available for loan. You want to check one of those out before you go buy it, great way to do it. Not only does it come with the radio, you get a headset with it, also an extra set of earphones, the power supply, the antenna. The only thing you really got to provide is the coax. Everything else is there. So a real good membership benefit, put it to use. Simple form that you have to fill out in order to get the gear, which pretty much says that, if something happens to it, you bought it, or you'll take care of the repairs. Other than that, it's great to see all three radios out from my possession and being used. That's the cool part behind it. So if you are interested, send me an email. I'll get you into the queue, kick the next person away, tell them to hurry up, make the contacts, get the DX, return the radio, and we'll get it over to you. So that's what I have, sir.
So, and on that topic, you can check out one, then another one, and the third one if you want to see them all. There's no limit to checking them out, just one at a time though. So anyway, yeah, Paul.
And these are all current radios.
They are.
The 705 has just been out for a short period of time.
Yeah, just over a year.
991A, all top-of-the-line stuff, current production models. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yep, I agree. And on that, there will be some new equipment able to be checked out here in the near future. We will have an antenna analyzer, and we will have coax and power pole crimpers available. You'll supply the hardware that goes with those to do whatever project you're after. But those will go out as one lot of equipment. All three of those items will be checked out at one time. So those are being funded. That's been done. We're waiting for the purchase to take place and the product to come in and get it shook out a little bit and figure out how we're going to package it up. But it will be available in the very near future. So that's another welcome addition to the club. The next will be, well, we already talked about King Soopers and Amazon. You got anything else on that, Dan?
How many King Super shoppers in the room? Or online, if you're a King Supers shopper. How many have selected their charity of choice or your rewards program? Excellent. So if you are a King Super shopper or a Kroger shopper, through your web log on, you have access to select a charity of choice. And the nice part behind that is that charity of choice, the Parker Radio Association, is listed as a 501c3, which is what we are. We're a charitable organization. So there is a percentage of the total buy every quarter that comes back to the PRA from Kroger. So we're thankful for King Soopers and the Kroger Corporation. That little initiative that they have for nonprofit agencies has helped us tremendously. So please help promote that. If you have friends, families, neighbors that need a charity of choice to select through King Soopers, we hope that the PRA would hopefully be at the top of that list.
Very good. Thanks, Dan. Next would be the meetings, Douglas County Library here. All of our meetings have been scheduled. you can see them on the website, and they will either be in this room or the adjacent room here for both Elmer and monthly face-to-face meetings. So those are already in the hopper, ready to go. Soapbox, newly licensed. Anybody recently licensed? Any upgrades? Oh, I got a new license?
Got mine yesterday, tech license.
Okay. And you snuck in on us from early introductions. Your name and your new call sign, if you have it.
Greg, and my call sign is KF0HTL.
All right, HTL. Very good. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Definitely glad to have you here. How about any DX contacts, a new radio? I think there's somebody in here that's got a new radio that he can't find, but DX? Cameron, what do you got?
Got an FTA into Ecuador.
Nice.
So, still can't get a single sideband down from there, but I'm trying.
Dan?
Fiji on 17, voice.
Very nice. Voice.
Pretty good. Yeah.
That's a good one. I've done a couple of FT8 contacts, 15 meters.
Yeah.
I got 2 new islands that are between Spain and Iceland. And off the top of my head, I do not recall the name of it. Starts with an F.
Azores, Canary Islands?
Nope, north of them.
Faroe.
Faroe.
Fair, yeah.
Faroe Island, that's the one I got. So anyway, FT8 on 15. 15's been really good. 12 has been good. And I've gotten a few 10s lately. It was better a month ago. Brian.
In the chat, YouTube chat, Scott, K0WAB, got Fiji on FTA.
Nice. Another island. Gotta love it. All right. Congrats, Scott. Okay. Soapbox, we're done with that. We will turn it over to Brad, AB4BA, our kit builder extraordinaire. He's always got fun toys that we get to see, usually on Wednesdays. Huh, Brad?
Yep.
Tomorrow being Wednesday, I'll touch on that real quick. The gym company, Parker, and just a little bit west of Parker Road on Main is the gym company. Burgers, pizzas, sandwiches. We usually meet there about 11, so tomorrow at 11 we will be there. Stop by and see us. Over to you, Brad. It's all yours.
How we doing? Yeah, can you? We need, HDMI is plugged in. Let's try it one more time, disconnect and reconnect. Does it show up? YouTube has it?
Are
Yeah.
you seeing a second display on your?
I am seeing, this is what I did last time.
Why does it feel like I'm at work?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It made a sound.
Let's try this. Should be pretty straightforward.
Last month, didn't we?
It did. Yeah. Disconnect again.
This down here sometimes is a problem.
Well, it's seeing something. But you said you see it on YouTube. Oh, okay, so we're seeing yours, okay.
While we're waiting for that little technical bit, especially with YouTubers online, as well as those creators, if anybody was out at Winter Field Day this last week and has photos.
There's not much to it.
Send them
I do have a
to the
different cable.
website.
I could try a different cable.
Maybe
But that worked for Dan, so.
Send those photos over to Mike, we can put on the website.
Okay.
So they can kind of consolidate them.
Tell you what, how about if I just restart everything?
Dana does have the.
When in doubt.
Right.
You can always pull all the logs from the.
I'm gonna restart my computer.
If anybody was out and set up, and we kept the log, send that over to Dana and we could submit that one as well. And then so the two automated logs, we got the points, and off the top of my head, I don't recall what the number is, nor would I know how that's going to compare, because we've never done it before, so we don't know how we're gonna stack that, but it was more about having fun out there and trying to get going, so.
Keep going.
We're still good?
Keep dancing.
Keep dancing? All right, cool. I will bring up another project here. So some of you know that I've redone my shack. I've got a new custom home build that I did about a year and a half ago. I finished it. My ham shack is down in my walkout basement. With that, cable management became somewhat of an issue to bring all of my coax in, my rotor controls, because I do have a tower. I looked through the commercial electronics catalogs, and I've got a few electrician buddies, and tried to find what I was looking for in my mind, and I couldn't find it. They do make cable management for like Romex, like kind of fingers that they stick the Romex into.
Want to try a
It won't
different
work
HDMI
in our
cable?
application, so I drew this up,
No.
and then Wayne printed it. It's a 3D print out of ABS plastic. And what it does is you can snap your coax in here. This is a 5-position holder. I can make them as long as we need to make them. I'm curious, I'll pass this around, let you take a look at it. It is ABS, don't bend it too much, but it's somewhat flexible.
Okay.
Camera behind you, showing you.
Ah. So with that, it,
no.
again, I can make them longer,
I
I
got
can make them
nothing.
shorter. I'm curious to see what the desire, the need is, if others were gonna maybe wanna use something like this. It might be a good club project, we can print some up. It does have 2 screw holes in it to mount it to a wall. But anyway, that's, for my needs, 4 coaxes and a rotor control was what I needed, but again, you can make them bigger or littler, so. Anyway, it's a concept. Pass it around, let you guys do that.
Wayne, M0 LED says it glows in the dark too.
That one does glow in the dark. I was planning on putting those on my, I've got a cable that comes out of the ceiling, it'll drop down a wall, and then it'll run across the wall, about waist high, kind of chair rail high. And so I was kind of planning on putting one every 16 inches or so, and just snapping the cables in to have it look real clean. And you can take them in and out real easy to change stuff out if you wanted to.
Try the, let me try going back.
The glow in the dark's the best though.
Hearing
Thanks,
it
Wayne.
click, but. I mean, it's seeing something.
Yeah. Display like you're limited, make sure your display
Yeah,
device.
it always does that. That's-
Yes, they
that's
do.
always-
They do.
Is this the one you gave me?
Yeah, that's the one you were using.
Yeah.
While we're waiting on that, one other topic.
I have it on a
Here
USB key.
in
I mean, I guess we could.
2 weeks, I was supposed to be at Orlando and Cation. However, traveling with Electraft, They chose not to go, so they will not be there, but some of the other big vendors are planning on being there. They are.
I mean, it's so straightforward, I don't know how it's not working.
Online.
And I
Expo
rebooted the
again,
computer,
which
so.
I think is later in February or April, I'm not sure the date on that, but there is an opportunity to participate online if you so choose for that event. And then, of course,
What's that?
we've got Dayton coming here at the end of May, so
Yeah.
if you're contemplating Dayton, make your travel arrangements and good luck on finding hotels. There's still a few available. I
Yes.
Paul booked some stuff here just a couple of weeks
Yes.
ago and was able to find some
Thank you.
good opportunities to stay.
Go ahead, hook that in.
New Hampshire, and you have to put this on your bucket list.
Well, this one,
If
this,
you do
this,
anything in the
well,
area,
it worked for
to go to Dayton once.
Paul's.
It is a huge, huge event. Years past, before COVID, they would see as many as 30,000.
Well, we tried two tables.
In one location for a weekend.
We rebooted the
Their
computer.
swap meet is incredible. Their swap meet is probably somewhere in the
You must
neighborhood
have
of
Wi-Fi on now.
10 to 15 acres of stuff spread out everywhere. Just, if nothing else, go for the people
That's weird,
watching.
because it worked.
Have you been,
last
Brian?
week.
Oh, it was working
Brian's
just
going
a
this year.
couple minutes ago.
My husband told me that it has to be on the bucket list more than once.
Oh, yeah, you gotta go once and then you're hooked.
Well, okay.
I think
I guess we're
here,
not gonna be-
Paul has been the most.
No input is selected,
I've
HDMI.
been Probably, I don't know.
Sounds to me like it's something here.
So, yeah, it is a spectator sport. Just
Is
go
there another
people watch and see guys
port to
walking
plug
around
into?
with impact radios, CW keyers, walking around making contacts while they're shopping.
Okay.
It's just, it's something to see. It really is.
We got a email from a friend of ours in California. He got a card from the, from PRA.
Oh, from Wings Over the Rockies? Yes. Yeah, Brad filled those out, so we'll thank Brad
Oh,
for
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
One of the cards you filled out, they know him.
Oh, good.
We're a California contact.
Oh, good, wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I think we sent out about 19 cards, something like that.
Whose laptop are we on before?
Yeah.
I have a USB key with the presentation on it. We'll see if we can do that. That's just weird. Don't know. Still having problems.
Brad should have built a kit.
Funny thing is, it all worked last week, and last try.
Now, I know when I put this in originally, it took about 10 or 15 seconds for it to kick over. Dance.
You may not want that.
So you have a thumb drive.
I do. Let's give it a shot. Well, it'll work this. It'll work this. Here, okay? So we're going to let you do that. I'm going to shut this down here. We'll see if I can Mac my way through it. Wow.
Round of applause.
Not yet.
Mac Windows, Mac Windows. Rest my case.
Call it for me, same way.
Ever since they got rid of Minesweeper,
Whatever the
or pinball.
USB key is. See, the problem is it was Seeing it? There it is. Just click on that Kingston up there. Maybe a little slow.
Who knows the Jeopardy theme?
Drag it over so you can copy it. Well,
How big a drive is it?
it's just, it's not, it should pop right up. I'm not sure what's going on. So we may be done.
No. Because this is the slides for.
It's not
YouTube, so
working.
I had no way to, we've been trying to find the usable HDMI splitter, and most of them are.
I don't think it's going to make a difference. I'm not entirely sure why. USB-C, I mean, the problem is it's a Windows file, so it may be struggling.
How about an email it to you, man?
You have it on email?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's only 8 gigs, or megabytes, not gigs.
Oh, that's true. How big is this thing? Oh, yeah, it's only 8. Forward 2. On the way. You got, yeah, just download it there.
He's stealing my talk. Can we get to the, is it possible?
The library will be closing.
The presenters view? Because that's where all my notes are.
Jeff, how good are you on Google's side to get to a presenter's view?
Never tried it. Do you,
You know what? I've got enough there. I've got
okay.
enough there. I've got enough there. We can make it work. We can make it work. If you can, I mean,
That makes me all want.
and just click on audience tools. Maybe.
We don't want presenters.
Yeah, let's go back to where we were. That we can make That's fine, but then it's nice to be able to see my notes.
Okay.
And that's what I don't have. We're getting close.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll just have to leave it there.
All right. I'm getting out of the way.
Okay. I think we got enough.
Yeah, you're more than good.
Okay. Okay. We just lost everything there. The plug came unloose. Okay, we're going to go with that. Can we turn down the lights a little bit? Would be nice. Sorry for the delay, guys. Isn't quite the way we want it, but it's close enough. You'll get the idea. And you've got the other feed for, okay, good. Okay, well, tonight we're going to talk about kit building for the ham, the joy of victory and the agony of defeat. And if you've ever done any kit building, you'll understand what I mean. It's so much fun when you plug it in and it all works and the lights come on and you hear that CW station. And it's the other side of that when you hear a pop and see a little bit of smoke coming out of it. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay. So that's not working. Sounds just like that. That's right. Okay. Why do we learn to build kits? Well, you get to learn how to solder. Okay, it's a good life skill to have. You also learn about basic electronic components, the difference between a resistor and a capacitor, that an LED has a positive and a negative side, and what a pot is. So you get to learn some basics there. You also get to build some really cool radios and accessories for your shack. Lots of different things. So we've got a table over there of a lot of different radios and accessories that are kits and home built sorts of things. You can also repair broken stuff. I had an end-fed antenna that I had exactly on resonance, and then I changed the position and it was wildly off, and I needed about 6 more feet of wire. So went out there and took my soldering machine out into the backyard with a long extension cable and soldered in and got it right on resonance, and that was 2 years ago. So that solder's held up on that antenna for 2 years. You get to learn how to use a multimeter. That's another good life skill to have. I'm going to talk a bit more about that. And then lastly, you can't see it very well there, but you can restore a time portal. Yeah, So, time portal. I'm a geek, okay? I have a sci-fi tree with about 50 different sci-fi ornaments, and you plug it in and it makes all kinds of noises. And this is the City on the Edge of Forever ornament. And you can get this on the internet, $70 and up for this, and none of them, they always say, sound doesn't work. Well, it turns out that they put a real cheap capacitor in there that blew on every one of these things. So you take it apart, you desolder the capacitor, you order a nice little capacitor from Mouser, plug it back in, and it works again. So I now have a working time portal on my Christmas tree. And the Guardian of Forever, this is a spoiler alert, he reappears in Star Trek Discovery as Carl, a member of the Q. So if you haven't watched Star Trek Discovery, this comes back. So anyways, back to ham radio. What do you need to build a kit? Well, you need a solder station, obviously. And we're going to talk about that, and I've got some examples of what I use and some other people do. You got to have good lighting. I mean, I can't overemphasize that. If you're in a dim room, you're not going to be able to read the resistors and figure out what's positive and negative, and it's just not going to go well. You also need, to that end, magnification. You've got to have a multimeter. You do need a few tools, and you need patience and a desire to learn. Okay, you got to go slow. You got to work through this at your own pace. What are the essentials of a solder station? You really do need. Don't buy a cheap soldering iron. okay? Because it's just going to frustrate you. You may think you've got a good solder, but you got a cold solder and you can't figure out why it isn't working. It's because you got a cold solder. It isn't going to work. So you need a variable temperature. You need something with some good amount of wattage. It's nice to have a digital readout so you know how much power you're actually, or how much temperature you really got going in there. And it's also nice to have one that has an auto shut off. Mine does, so that if I don't pick it up for 10 minutes, it turns itself off, which is nice, you know, because I occasionally have left and forgot that I left a thing on, and it's nice that somebody else is smarter than I am and turns itself off. I use the Xtronic model 3200. The Xtronic has multiple models. These are, I'm thinking around the $50 range, something like that. The Heiko 888s, that's sort of on my wish list of ones to get, a little better. But I build all my kits so far with the Xtronic. You also need fine solder tips. This is one type of the fine solder tips. All these soldering irons come with tips, and these big, broad, flat tips, and you're never going to, put in a resistor with that tip. So you need to get those fine tips. This is absolutely necessary. The Heiko solder tip cleaner, 599B. Whenever you do a solder, you take the iron out, and then you stick it in the solder tip cleaner, and it cleans the tip. You get a nice shiny tip, and you're ready to go again. Don't use the sponge. They all come with a sponge. Well, if you take the soldering tip and you put it on the sponge, your temperature is going to drop. Then you go back to solder, and now your temperature is lower, so you're getting variable temperature as you're doing these solders, and it's going to give you cold solders, and you're not going to be happy, and so just you use the tip cleaner. Don't use the sponge. At the end, if you want to use the sponge to clean up, fine, but don't do it in the process. You also are going to need. Okay, there we go. Came back here. You're also going to need solder wick and flux. Chip quick is a specific type of solder flux and material. It's a bismuth-based solder for removing bad solders. You will inevitably solder the wrong piece in or turn it backwards, or you have a failed component. You've got a transistor that blew. Well, you got to get that transistor out and put a new one in if you're going to fix the kit. So, and also a solder sucker. And I'm going to show you pictures of all of these. I'm hoping that, having trouble with it making it scroll. And we're going to get down to slide 9 and be at a dead end. Solder station. This is the Xtronic solder station. This is that, and it has all sorts of little extra added. I took all this off and took all that off and got rid of the sponge, and I'm just using this part here. But you can see the readout, the variable readout there, and place to put your iron. Same thing over here. The Heiko has a nice little dial there and a little place to clean it, place to store it, and that's really, and there's the sponge that you generally don't need. Here, maybe this will work. There we go. Those are those solder tips, little fine solder tips. Again, it'll come with one. Your soldering iron will come with one. They're cheap. Pick them up. That's the cleaner that I talked about. And what's cool about that is you dip your soldering iron in there. It gives you a nice, clean little soldering tip. And this little bottom part actually comes off, and you empty all the solder pieces in the trash. So it works its way down through the sponge, and you just empty it out, and you're good to go. Solder wick, that's for pulling up all that bad solder when you do make a mistake. You need flux. This is some of the chip quick flux. So you put flux, and you sort of smear that all over there, and then you put your flux right next to your soldering iron to the bad joint, and it will capillary action out that solder. And so that works pretty well, not perfectly. There are better solutions. But that's sort of where you start.
The flux pins like that are for the wind. You want those.
Yes.
That's just the only flux you use.
You got to have that. Again, here's the chip quick. It's solder, but it's bismuth based. and it melts at about 200 degrees. And why that's important, because the solder melts at 800 degrees, 700, 800 degrees. So when you're trying to remove a component, you melt that in there, you mix it all together, and so what happens is that solder stays liquid. You can literally just lift the part out, okay, because it stays liquid long enough for you to do that. Regular solder, you liquefy it, and as soon as you take the thing away, it solidifies, and you can't, if you have 3 or 4, or if you have an SMA component, that has multiple pins in it, the only way you're going to get it out is with something like Solder Quick. These are cheap solder suckers. They work okay. There's better options. The more you want to spend, the better you get. And if you've got $300 and you want a Hacko desoldering iron with power suction and everything like that, everybody tells me, if you do this a lot or if you do this professionally, you're going to have one of these on your desk. Solder recommendations, what do you use? Well, if you go to the store, if you wherever, you'll always see the 60/40, okay? The 6337 rosin, no clean, lead solder is the way to go. It flows better down into the joints than the 60/40. There's less risk because of that of a cold solder, and it's something Jeff taught me. This is a word Jeff taught me, eutectic. And it's down here, I can't even explain it very well, but it's a system of homogeneous mixture of substances that either melts or solidifies at a particular given temperature that's lower than the melting point of the component elements. In other words, it's everything solidifies and melts at the same temperature, as opposed to part of it melts and you get goofiness. So I would highly recommend the 6337, and I'll show you a picture of that. I use the Kester. That's the model number and all the rest of this. Rosin core, I use the .031 diameter. There's some different diameters depending on what you want to use and what you're doing. And in general, I would skip the lead-free solder. Okay, would you agree? Yeah. So you can be environmentally friendly and have a hard time or get it done right. This is the solder. You can get that off of Amazon, and one of those rolls will last you forever. Magnification and lighting. Various options, various alternatives. The BrightTech Light View, it's a magnifying lamp with a ring light, so you can get right down on it, but you're forever sort of moving it and moving the kit and moving the solder, and you've only got so many hands. A lot of people like the jeweler's headband magnifiers. There's multiple different brands. You can flip in the different magnifications in there. I use surgical loops. I don't use a headlight, but a headlight's, a camping headlight. You slap that on your head, you got all the light you need right where you need it. So that's another way of doing things. Good lighting is an absolute must. Some people will use those gooseneck LEDs. The only thing I would tell you that when you're done building your kit and you want to turn it on, turn the LED off, because the RF, you can't figure out why is it so bad. The kit's awful. It's because you got that LED on and you're getting all kinds of RF. So I've got a great LED, but boy, it just destroys my station when it's on.
Is it AC or DC?
It's AC.
Yeah, so my goosenecks are all DC.
Oh, well, okay. Mr. DC Gooseneck, okay. Yeah. So there's just some pictures of what we were talking about. The ring light there, these jeweler loops. That work really well. A multimeter. Why do you need one? Okay, you're going to have to learn how to use them. You're going to have to get one. You're going to have to learn how to use it. I mean, if you're going to do this sort of thing. The number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 things that I use my multimeter for are to measure continuity. Whether it's, hey, is the major cause of kit failures, bar none, is you've wound that toroid, you've yelled and cussed and everything else, and you've stripped the enamel off and you put it in, but you didn't strip off all of the enamel. And so you've got, your toroid is not making connections. If you go to the bottom side of the board and you put your multimeter on either side and you don't hear it buzzing, you know that you're not in continuity. So you either need to solder some more of that or scrape some more of that. But that's the number one cause of kit failures, is that toroid isn't making connection. It also, sometimes you don't want to hear the buzz. Like you're trying to figure out if two solder points right next to each other are actually, did you create a bridge there? Which is generally really bad because those things go pop. But if you can use your multimeter there. You can also use your multimeter if you say all of a sudden your SWR went through the roof and you're wondering if your cable's broken or cracked or something like that. You can SWR on either side of that. So figuring out if something is in continuity or if something is not in continuity is a major use, and it's a switch and touch them together, and if it goes beep, it's connected. You can measure AC/DC voltages and current. We work in DCs in radio, although if you want to stick it into a wall socket, you just make sure you got it connected right, but you can do that too, which of course anybody who gets one of these things does. So I figure if I did that and I didn't blow everything up, I knew what I was doing. It'll measure capacitance, resistance, and frequency. And as I said, many of the kits, they'll say, okay, you finished stage 1, you check the voltage at this pin and ground. It should be 3.3 volts. And that's what your multimeter is going to tell you. If it's 0, you did something wrong, and you got to go back and troubleshoot at that point. Specs on a good multimeter. These are just general specs. 0.5% or better accuracy on the voltage and resistance. You want a 6,000 count or higher. It needs to be auto-ranging so that when you sort of connect it up, it sort of figures out, oh, okay, we're way down here at this end of the scale or way up here at this end of the scale. True RMS, which is root mean square. It just basically means it's much more accurate. And there's a website here that you can't read very well, but this is from Jeff. This is I bleed territory. It has all specs on all multimeters ever known to man. There's also some other, the test gear section there, there's some tips and some other information. And if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be available on the forums. So the PDF will be on the forum, so you can just look that up and get all these names of these instruments and web addresses. As far as multimeters, in general, Fluke is the gold standard. A 107 is plenty good enough for ham radio. If you're an electrician, you got a Fluke, okay? They're accurate, they're durable, they're just the best. I don't own a Fluke. I own the second one, the Astro Digital TRMS 6000. I'm thinking it's like $35, something like that. I put this one up because this is the one you said you used, Jeff, right? Also a good unit. Harbor Freight even has them. They're okay. They're going to be okay for continuity. They may not be quite as accurate as you would like them to be. But for $6 or whatever it is, you can certainly learn with one of those. Well, and again, you sort of get what you pay for. And again, the model seems to be about the price. So the Fluke is about 107. This is like 35. Do you remember how much yours?
About 60, I think.
60, yeah. So you can get a good quality instrument. Here's a couple of multimeters. That's the one I used. The first one there has more than I could ever use on it. You've got your I can't read. I think that's AC, DC. Continuity is up here, and then there's a bunch of other stuff over here that I don't understand. There's a Fluke 107. Hang on, let me scroll up some more. I wish we had the presenter view, but we don't. We're going to make it work as best we can. Optional test equipment, of which I don't own any of this stuff. An LCR meter, you can use that to test components. It can be pretty pricey. Spectrum analyzers, there's cheap ones, there's expensive ones. Oscilloscope, if you need it, you need it. I used to say I don't own one, but I've got a 1970s one that's it's a doorstop right now in my shack, but someday I'll learn how to use it. Now what I did get, now I just love this thing, it's from Banggood. It's a multifunction tester, a TC1, okay? About $25 for this little gadget. And it's rechargeable. What you do is you take your component and you stick it in here, right here. This happens to be a diode that they put in there, and you press the button and it'll say, hey, this is a resistor, and it is 0.1 ohm, and it works. And you get those, and so, a lot of times, some of these kits, they'll say, here are your resistors, and they just give you a pile of resistors, and you're saying, okay, is it red, green, red, blue, green? I'm colorblind, I can't tell. You stick that little thing in there, you get a reading, and you get two pieces of information, what the reading is, and if it works. So if you have a bad component, you stick it in there, and it doesn't work, then you can use the LCR meter, if I'm not mistaken, to do a lot of that stuff too, correct?
Yeah, the LCR meter, I think this can mimic some of the stuff the LCR
Right,
does.
right. This is the cheap end.
Yeah, the thing with an LCR, especially for hams, is you get good accurate readings on inductors and capacitors.
Right. What other miscellaneous stuff do you need? Silicone mat. Got to have that. It saves your desk. It also keeps the components from flying off all different directions. You've got to have microcutters. What happens is you take the capacitor and you stick it through and you bend the wire at the bottom. You solder it from the back side, and then you clip those little pieces off. You don't want those pieces sticking around because they're going to short on you. So you want to clip those off. So a good pair of little microcutters. A good tool set. There are various tools that you need. I also use a hemostat a lot. Sometimes you just need to hold that wire in a certain way and clamping a hemostat on it. It's like a third hand. Ceramic screwdrivers, not absolutely necessary, but when you're going to adjust pots and frequencies and all the settings that you have to do after you build, say, a radio, if you put a metal screwdriver in there, you get all kinds of wacky readings. And so the little ceramics, and they're cheap. They're just little plastic or ceramic things. Quad hands, nice, not really absolutely necessary. I'll show you what a quad hands are. It's a metal plate, magnetic, and it's little holders and little clamps, so you can clamp your boards or components or whatever to hold it up to solder. And then it's hard to read there, but a smoke evacuator. I didn't have one of those, but I just added one of those because after a while there's just smoke all over, and the XYL says, what the hell's burning in the basement? So. Yep. Absolutely, I don't, but here's what I use. And my mat has never looked this clean. I mean, this, my God, this guy, look at this. He's got his little screwdrivers all set up here and everything else. Mine's just sloppy everywhere. But I will use these little places to put components, and in here, if I'm taking something apart, I'll put the screws in one of these little contained areas, because these screws are small and they're going to flip off all over the place if you don't. It also, you can solder right on top of that mat and it's going to be fine. It is intrinsically anti-static, but I don't wear an anti-static wrist guard or anything like that for doing the kit builds. Do you?
I don't either, but I have a bar under my bench, so if I'm working with something I know is that expensive, I'll touch the bar plus.
Probably a good idea. I can't recommend this high enough. This is the iFixit ProTech kit. A little hard to see here, but it's got a couple of screwdrivers, all kinds of different bits. It's got a little swedge tool to take your iPhone apart if you want to do that. It's got a scalpel. It's got a little freer. It's got an anti-static clip. It all sort of fits together. I use this daily in my shack, for different things. There's lots of iFixit kits that are out there. They're a little pricey. I'm going to say this is somewhere between $50 and $70. But once you buy it, once you got it, you'll have it forever. And for all these small electrical components, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, second thumbs up for them. And if you need
Third.
batteries or repairs or stuff for your laptop, this laptop here literally has a new iFixit battery in it as of yesterday. After I tried 2 from Amazon that failed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Yeah, no.
I said enough of them. When I fix it, I know it'll work, and perfect.
These are the ceramic screwdrivers, Phillips and Straight, the little micro cutters that you can buy. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. That's the quad hands, and that's a Kodo smoke evacuator. It's got a little HIPAA filter in. It's a little bit of a hassle to use, but if you're doing a lot of soldering, it's probably worthwhile. I'll talk about that in a minute. An annoying YouTube person that I'll talk about. Here's just the list of what we've just talked about. So if you want to look at this later, you certainly can. So that's just the specs on it. So for those of you who don't know, I was a surgeon in my prior life, and kit building is a lot like surgery. That's why I like it so much. I mean, this is like being in the operating room, being doing microvascular surgery under a microscope, or any type of surgery. It's the same. There's a reason that surgeons start their hard cases at 7:30 in the morning. It's because that's when you're freshest. So you put your hard cases, you front load those on the schedule, do your easy stuff at the end of the day. The same is true here. Don't come home from work and 7 o'clock say, I'm going to go start a kit. It's just, you're going to make mistakes. It's also a well-known fact that surgical error rate goes up after 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the OR. So if somebody says, we're scheduling you at 3, say, how about the next day? Okay. Wear eye protection. And the other corollaries, don't eat while you're building and wash your hands when you're done. It's lead solder. So there is a famous YouTube person who shall remain nameless, since I think we're on YouTube right now. But he was doing a kit, and he's got the little micro cutters, and he's clipping, and those wires are flipping off in the different directions. And then he couldn't hold something, so he took the solder and he put it in his mouth while he was sitting there doing everything else. It's like, okay, so don't do that. Don't do that. Don't put solder in your mouth. Wash your hands after you're done. Wear eye protection. Also work in a well-ventilated area and in a well-lit area. Again, you got to be able to see what you're doing. And in surgery, if you're doing something and it's all going wrong, one of the best things to do is say, listen, I'm going to back out. We're going to close everything up. We're going to come back another day, get help, whatever. But don't keep charging ahead. That'll get you in trouble. So if things are going bad with your kits, quit and come back later. And later maybe the next day, okay? One of the most frustrating things is you spent 4 or 5 hours building a kit, and you say, okay, I'm going to plug it in, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and it goes, and nothing works. And then you're sitting there thinking, okay, am I going to spend the next 2 or 3 hours troubleshooting this thing, or do I just put the kit down, I'll come back tomorrow, and I realize that I put the diode backwards. It's always something simple, or not always, but usually it's something simple, some mistake that you made. So again, come back later, better way to do things. What to build? You can build just about anything. And these skills scale up to whatever, whether you want to restore German radios, or whether you just want to do the paint by numbers kits. You can do just about anything. You can build receivers and transceivers. You can build antennas. There's a couple of antennas I think over there. Various test equipment for your shack, SWR meters, dummy loads, keys, CW oscillators. And then you can also do mods on existing equipment. So, that's the cool thing to be able to do. And, I think, Jeff, even you had some mods on some of those equipment over there. Some filters that you added. Again, what to build. Generally, the transceiver kits are going to be in the QRP range, 10 watt, 5 watt, 10 watt range. Because they're easier to build, less components. They cost significantly less than a commercial transceiver. Most of those kits are running anywhere from $50 to $150, depending on what additions and if you want enclosures, et cetera, et cetera. So, and you get performance that's pretty close. Certainly, you can get performance that's equal to radios we had 10 years ago. Okay, we were using those radios 10 years ago, and they were state of the art then. The CWs, I've got some little CW kits, And everything I'm seeing on my 7610 pan adapter, I'm hearing on the little kit. So, I mean, it's not the same. You don't get all the bells and whistles like the pan adapters, and you don't have 4 filters for your CW or whatever. You may only have 1 filter, and so there's some limitations there. But, you know, you can get on the air, you can make lots and lots of contacts, and you can have a lot of fun doing this. Your build options, there's voice, phone, there's a lot of radios out that are digital only, 5 watts of FD8. There's several different companies that make those, and there's a lot of CW out there because it's simple to make. So a lot of CW radios. There are several websites that sell quality kits. If you're starting out, start with something simple. Small kit, few components, doesn't take a long time. A lot of the websites will say, this takes level 1 skills versus level 5 skills. You don't want to start out trying to build an Elecraft transceiver as your first kit. Okay, start simple, learn to solder, learn the basics of all this stuff. There's some easy kits on Pacific Antenna, some dummy loads, things like that are good. Stay away from the cheap eBay kits. The components are marginal. Yes?
I made a bad experience where these kits that come from China, many times they have absolutely no manual coming with it. So you set your tinkering until it may work.
Or if you speak Mandarin, then you're in good shape. Just saying. If you can find, yeah, that's the other thing. You may not even find it. So, and be prepared for failure. The smoke genies. I mean, it's going to happen. That's part of the joy of doing it, because then you got to figure out what you did wrong, and then when you figure out what you did wrong, then you got to figure out if I can fix it or not. And sometimes, my skill set is at a certain level, and then I get to the point like, okay, I don't know what's wrong. I need help. And there are a lot of these companies are other hams just like you are. And, I had a guy in Baton Rouge said, send it to me, ship it to me, I'll pay for the shipping and I'll fix it for you. That's what I do, is I repair these things that people blow up. And he did. So hams are great. These are some of the companies that I like and that I use, and I think Jeff has, and anybody who's done any kit building. QRP guys, great. I think they're out of the UK. Lots of kits and accessories that you can build. Pacific Antenna. I actually haven't built any Pacific Antenna, but they look like they have some good quality stuff. 4 States QRP. Great group. That was, I don't know if some of you saw my Bayou jumper from the Paraset talk that I did a month ago. That was designed by those guys, and that was also the guy in Baton Rouge who fixed it when I blew it up. So, thanks, Jim. The QRP labs, a little more advanced kits, but quality kits, quality instructions, quality components. They stand behind their kits. So that's really what you want. You want to have a success when you're doing these things. Elecraft has some great kits. Okay, I've got one over there, a SWR meter from Elecraft. So they're good. And that says Mouser.com. Okay, they don't sell kits. They sell parts to repair the kits that I screwed up. Okay, so that's where you get all your components if you need them, or if you find a bad component when you're testing it. A few of the kits. This one's over on the table over there. It's from QRP guys. It's a dummy load. It's got a nice little switch here between load and through. It'll give you SWR down here or power. So it's a nice little kit. It gives you a digital readout. This is the QRP guys 1080 mini EdFed half-wave antenna. It's about the size of a matchbox. So it's a little finicky to build because you're sort of free floating all of these components. But when they say it's 10 through 80, it means if you put a 10 wire on it, you get 10. If you put an 80 wire on it, you get 80. But you don't get 10 through 80. Okay, so it's whatever wire that you put on there. I think I'm running. Actually, I've got it cut for 20, 15, and 17. So, and if we ever get to 10 working, then I'll put a 10 on it too. So. I think it'll go to 10. This is Pacific Antennas. That's their dummy load. So that'd be a good kit to start with, because look at all the soldering that you get to do, all those resistors. You know, look at all those resistors there. But, you know, when you get done with that, you know how to solder, you know. And I think that, huh? They don't care. They're not directional. They're not directional like diodes. I think there's an LED in there somewhere that probably is directional. So this is a receiver, not a transceiver, just a receiver. I think it's 75 meters. So when you build this and you turn it on, you can get the health reports of everybody on 75 meters. It's a health radio. This is a very simple kit from 4 States, QRP. It's a CW. It's crystal based, so it's got one frequency, like 730. But you don't have to wind toroids, because the toroids are built into the board there. So you don't have to wind. So a lot of people don't like winding toroids. It's sort of zen for me. You know, it's like, okay, you know, you just over and over and over. I'll show you a cool toroid at the end here. Or here's another, this is a highly recommended kit, or you can buy it built. There's only like 11 components in the Sherry, so for an all-star kit, it's really cool. This happens to be the Pi 3 UHF version of it, and it plugs into a Pi, Raspberry Pi up here. And and really the only things, you can't see it well on the slide here, but there's little lights there, so you're just putting the LEDs in here and soldering on the connectors and the antenna connector, and that's really pretty much it. But it's a fun little kit, real simple to build. A little more complicated. This is a QRP guy's double sideband digital. Is that what you have over there? That one? Yeah. So we actually have that. Jeff has made an enclosure for it, and he's done some mods on the band filters. So that's pretty cool. It's got a digital readout, so you can do FT8 with that. What's it put out, about 5 watts? 3 watts?
It varies depending
On the band, okay. I built this one, I have that over there. This is the QCX Mini from QRP Labs. It is a CW only radio, puts out about 5 to 6 watts, single band. That one happens to be the 14. But great little rig, but definitely an advanced build, because those parts are super close, and lots of SMA components that are built. A lot of these kits, by the way, you know, what they do is they took their bigger radio and said, well, let's make it really small. And so, but they factory place the surface mount components. So half or 3/4 of the components are already there, and you have 30 or 40 through-hole components that you have to place, plus you have to wind the toroids, and you have to calibrate and all that. So I would stay away from the little, if somebody says, here's a bunch of surface mounts, and here's this little kit, I just hand it right back to them and say, no thank you. I mean, those are difficult. Again, this is the latest one from QRP Labs. It's a QDX digital transceiver. Again, I think it's roughly 5 watts, 4 bands, FT8. So you just plug this thing into your computer. I think it has a sound card built into it. So it's the whole package right there. You just hook it to your computer and an antenna, and you're on the air. This is Ham Radio Workbench. It's a power distribution node that's really cool. You've got your Anderson power poles. You connect your power in here. I actually use this to supply my kits. So I have some wires coming out, so I know when I've got it. Direct power.
Closing in 20 minutes.
Okay, we'll be done. It's fused, which is nice. And the other cool thing is it's got a super bright red LED right there, so you can just see right away that your power's on and it's working. You know, so if you can't see your I can't think of the term, but your other power. Come on. Couple of websites. Ham Radio Workbench. I like that podcast most of the time. Sometimes it gets a little esoteric for me, but there is some show notes on this particular podcast that has some tricks and tips and how to accurately bend the resistor wires and things to that effect. The other good website is this qrparci.org. It lists links to all these kit making companies. So if you go there, you'll have links to QRP guys and a bunch of other ones that I haven't mentioned. And it's sort of fun to go to those sites and go, oh, what do you have? What's your latest thing? A lot of these companies will put out a kit and you get really enthusiastic for it, and then they sell out and they say, okay, we're done. That's it. We're not doing that again. And they disappear, or that kit never comes up again, and they move on to the next one. I think that my impression is that building kits and putting all the parts together and getting them out and then having the hams call back and say this isn't working and that isn't working, it gets old quick. And I think these companies, they do it and they do it for a limited run, and then they say, okay, I'm out of the business. And it moves on to the next person who wants to do it.
What the difference is, you can sometimes find them whipped off on Chinese websites.
Sure.
If you shop carefully, you can still get a good kit from China.
Absolutely.
Like a rock mount, for example. They quit making rock mounts forever ago. You can still get a good quality kit on Alibaba.
Right. Alibaba, Banggood, yes.
I have to say one thing about the Chinese, the PC ports are first class usually.
Okay.
The components are
Components tend to be a little marginal.
sometimes, but most of the time, what is my experience, the components are good.
Well, I think once you get to a certain level, then I think you could probably look at the board and say, okay, I can probably figure this out.
They're marked very well,
Right.
usually.
Right. But it only takes one thing mismarked to ruin the whole thing for you. A few final thoughts. YouTube is your friend. You can learn to solder. So if you don't know how to solder, go there and learn how to solder before you start soldering. Buy a cheap kit or a throwaway kit or whatever, or pick it up at a ham thing and just work on soldering and that sort of thing. Learn how to wind a toroid. Okay? That's small and you've got to run the wire through and you've got to count each one. One trick there is when you're done, take a picture of it with your phone and blow it up really big, and then you can count the number of winds, okay, as opposed to sitting here trying to figure out if you've got 14 or 13 winds.
That's the winding toroids. What I usually do is I take a piece of wire, make one loop around it, measure the length of that wire, and then multiply it by the turn.
So you know how long you need.
I know how long wire I need.
So one diameter equals one turn. Interesting. See, I learned something there.
I add maybe 2 or 3 to it.
Right. Most of the good kits are going to say cut an 11.5-inch wire, and that sort of thing. But yes. And if all else fails, you can watch some cat videos. So if Apollo here, my daughter's Golden, can drive, then you can wind a toroid. And it's a little hard to see, but if you could see this, there's probably 10,000 winds in that. That's a machine that that automatically winds that toroid. That's a big toroid. And then lastly, that's the agony of defeat guy. Okay? With Muhammad Ali. He was a Yugoslavian skier, Vinko Bogataj. He has more appearances on Wide World of Sports than any other athlete. He retired to Slovenia. He was a forklift operator, and then he became an award-winning painter, and his art is displayed both in and in America. So he turned something bad. And I was reading about him. He had a concussion. It was his third run down the slope. He had crashed once already, okay, and he came down and he hit some ice, and he had a concussion and a broken ankle, doesn't remember anything that happened. And the other thing is, in his professional skiing career, he never finished better than 57th. So it was just sort of interesting to see. He's still alive in Slovenia, I believe, so he's in his 70s. So thank you very much.
Randy got a pro tip.
Yes.
A02UG said don't solder with shorts on.
Pro tip, yes. Yeah, back to the eyeglasses, you know, the micro cutters, flipping that up. Also, you might want to vacuum around where you've worked, or your dog or your wife is going to step on those little, and they're like needles. I mean, they hurt. And the solder splatters. It does splatter. So don't put your computer screen right next to where you're working. Or, you know, and again, wear the glasses. So.
Get rid of the carpet underneath.
Get rid of, yes, yeah, well, I could, but it's cold in my basement, so.
I want to give it up to Brad. This is another great example where, and actually Brad's done a double header, so he's back-to-back months in giving a presentation. So Brad, thank you for sharing not only your passion and expertise behind this, but obviously your time, talent, and treasures that go into this as well. This is something that just doesn't happen by accident, so I appreciate you sharing that. If you have an idea for a presentation or there's something that you're passionate about regarding amateur radio, let us know. We want to get you plugged in for one of our presentations, whether that's at a monthly meeting or one of our Elmer nights. We'd love to learn from you. There's some great things I learned from Brad tonight, and even just the commentary that was going on and the questions that were going on as well. Absolutely learned a lot. Peter just gave a great one as far as the measurement of the wires. That kind of went, oh yeah, that's so simple. And it's something that gets overlooked. So again, thank you, Brad, and thank you for being out here this month. Drive home safe. Check out some of the cool stuff that's over here before you go. One more announcement.
CW month coming. We are building a kit.
Oh!
Some kits are forthcoming.
All right.
Hope you took notes.
There we go. All right.
What's the kid?
Yes.
Stay tuned.
CW kit. So stay tuned. More info to follow. If you're heading home tonight, which obviously we all are, drive safely. It's kind of peeking outside. It's got a little bit of snow out there, so please take it easy. Drive safe. Look forward to seeing you on the air and seeing you at our next meeting. Thanks again.
Well, thanks for coming out.